You're watching Cold Blood Empire. Original story. Before the moon ever judged her. Before the alpha ever raised his hand. Before the pack ever turned away. Ariana Perez believed silence was survival. She believed love was patience. She believed endurance would one day be rewarded. For 23 years, she had been the Omega who never complained. The one who fetched water without being asked. The one who lowered her eyes when warriors passed. Who scrubbed floors until her knuckles bled. Who smiled through exhaustion because smiling was safer than speaking. She had been called weak her entire life, fragile, forgettable, but when Alpha King Braylon Morris chose her as his mate, Ariana thought the moon goddess had finally seen her, finally rewarded her, finally whispered, "You survived long enough. Now you get to live." She believed the mating ceremony would be the beginning of everything. She believed wrong, because during the one ceremony meant to crown her Luna, her alpha mate chose punishment over truth. He chose his crown over her heart. He chose the pack's whispers over the bond they shared. And when Ariana could no longer stand, when her tears ran dry, when her body gave out beneath the weight of betrayal, the wolf they thought was broken finally woke, not gently, not quietly, but fully. This is not a story about weakness. This is not a story about a broken Omega waiting to be saved. This is the story of what happens when the woman they humiliated becomes the storm they cannot outrun. This is the story of what happens when silence ends. Hey, quick question before we begin. How are you feeling right now? Thank you for being here. Truly, it means more than you know. I'm building something powerful with this channel and working towards 10,000 subscribers. And if Ariana's story already has you holding your breath, please subscribe to Cold Blood Empire. Smash the like button and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Every click helps this Cold Blood Empire grow. Alright, now let's go back to the moment Ariana still believed the moon would be kind. Chapter 1. Dawn broke over the savage territory like a pale promise. Ariana stood in front of the cracked mirror in her small chamber, staring at a reflection she barely recognized. The ceremonial gown was beautiful. Ivory silk embroidered with silver thread that caught the light like captured starlight. The maids had laced it so tight she could barely breathe, and when she tried to adjust the bodice, Haley Dodson swatted her hand away. "Stop fidgeting," Haley muttered, tugging the laces even tighter. "You're about to become Luna. Act like it." Ariana winced. "If I collapse during the ceremony, the moon goddess should blame this dress, not me." Cecilia Webb laughed from the corner where she was arranging ceremonial flowers. "You won't collapse. You're tougher than you look." "That's not saying much," Ariana replied, managing a weak smile. The room smelled like wildflowers and sacred herbs. Smoke from the purification brazier curled toward the ceiling, and somewhere outside, drums had already begun their low, rhythmic pulse. Ariana's heart matched the beat. Today, she would stand before the entire savage pack. Today, she would be bound to Braylon Morris, Alpha King, the strongest wolf in 3 territories. Today, her life would finally begin. She had dreamed of this moment for months. Ever since the night Braylon had pulled her aside after a pack gathering, his voice was low and rough. "You feel it too, don't you?" She nodded, unable to speak. The bond between them had been undeniable. A warmth that spread through her chest whenever he was near. A pull she couldn't resist even if she wanted to. He had brushed his fingers against hers, just barely, and the touch had set her entire body alight. "I want you as my mate," he had said simply. "Not because you're convenient, not because you're quiet, because when I look at you I see home." Ariana had believed him. She still did. Didn't she? "Hold still," Haley said, pinning a silver clasp into Ariana's hair. "You're shaking." "I'm nervous," Ariana admitted. "You should be," Cecilia said cheerfully. "The entire pack is out there. Every elder, every warrior, even Alpha Landry Bird came from the northern border." Ariana's stomach twisted. "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "It means you matter," Cecilia said softly. "You're not just some Omega anymore, Ariana. You're about to be Luna." The words should have felt comforting. Instead, they felt heavy. Ariana glanced at the window. Outside, wolves gathered in the ceremonial clearing. Torches lined the perimeter, their flames flickering against the fading daylight. The sacred altar stood at the center, carved from ancient stone, and blessed by generations of moon priestesses. This was real. This was happening. Almost done, Haley said, stepping back to admire her work. You look perfect. Ariana didn't feel perfect. She felt like she was wearing someone else's skin, but she smiled anyway, because that's what she did. The preparation chamber door opened, and Elder Valentina Santana entered, her expression stern and unreadable. It's time, she said. Ariana's breath caught. Haley squeezed her hand. You'll be amazing, Cecilia grinned. And if you're not, at least the dress is. Ariana laughed despite herself, a small, shaky sound. Elder Valentina led her down the narrow corridor toward the clearing. The drumbeat grew louder with every step. Ariana could hear voices now chanting, murmuring, the hum of a pack gathering for something sacred. When they reached the edge of the clearing, Valentina paused. Remember, she said quietly, you represent the moon tonight. Walk with dignity. Ariana nodded. Valentina stepped aside, and Ariana walked into the light. The clearing was breathtaking. Hundreds of wolves stood in concentric circles around the altar, their faces illuminated by torchlight. The air smelled like pine smoke and earth. Above them, the full moon hung heavy and silver, watching. Ariana's eyes found Braylon immediately. He stood at the altar, tall and commanding in his ceremonial cloak. His dark hair was pulled back, his jaw sharp, his expression unreadable. He looked every inch the Alpha King, and when his eyes met hers, her heart stuttered. For a moment, nothing else existed. Not the crowd, not the elders, not the whispers already starting to curl through the pack. Just him, just the bond pulling her forward. Ariana walked slowly, carefully, trying not to trip over the gown's heavy hem. The drums shifted to a softer rhythm, and the chanting quieted. She reached the altar. Braylon extended his hand. She took it. His fingers were warm, strong, familiar. For a heartbeat, she felt safe. Elder Keith Garrett stepped forward, holding a ceremonial bowl filled with sacred ash. He was ancient, his voice slow and deliberate, and Ariana had heard him speak at every major ceremony since she was a child. Brothers and sisters of the Savage Pack, Keith began. We gather beneath the moon to witness the binding of Alpha and Luna. 2 souls, 1 bond, 1 destiny. The pack murmured in agreement. Keith dipped his fingers into the ash and reached toward Ariana. By earth and flame, by blood and bone, he smudged the ash across her forehead. Ariana's nose itched. Oh no. She tried to hold it in. She really did. But the sacred ash tickled, and before she could stop herself, she sneezed. Loudly. The chanting stopped. Keith paused, ash-covered fingers still in the air, and stared at her. Ariana's face burned. I'm sorry. Keith cleared his throat and continued as if nothing had happened. By earth and flame, by blood and bone, we bind what the moon has chosen. Someone in the crowd giggled. Ariana wanted to disappear, but Braylon's hand tightened around hers, just slightly, and she felt the smallest flicker of amusement through the bond. Maybe it would be okay. Maybe this was just nerves. Maybe. Keith was still talking, and talking, and talking. The man spoke about the history of the Savage Pack, the sacred duties of a Luna, the responsibilities of an Alpha, the blessings of the moon goddess, the importance of tradition, the strength of unity. Ariana briefly forgot she was supposed to be nervous. She forgot she was standing in front of hundreds of wolves. She forgot everything except the mild concern that Keith might actually talk until sunrise. Finally, he finished. And now, Keith said, his voice rising, we call upon the moon to bless this union. The pack howled. The sound was primal and beautiful, echoing through the trees. Ariana's chest tightened with emotion. This was it. This was the moment. Braylon turned to face her fully, and for the first time that night, she saw something flicker in his eyes. Doubt. No, she must have imagined it. Keith raised the ceremonial blade. Alpha Braylon Morris, do you accept this Omega as your mate, your Luna, your equal before the moon? Braylon's jaw tightened. I do. Keith turned to Ariana. Ariana Perez, do you accept this Alpha as your mate, your protector, your equal before the moon? I do, Ariana whispered. Keith smiled. Then by the power vested in me by the moon goddess herself, a voice cut through the clearing. Wait, the drums stopped. The howling died. Ariana's blood went cold. Elder Ensley Stevenson stepped forward, her expression grim. "There is a matter that must be addressed before this ceremony continues." Braylon's hand released Ariana's, and everything began to fall apart. Chapter 2. Ariana's breath caught in her throat. Elder Ensley Stevenson was not a woman who spoke without weight. She was sharp-eyed, silver-haired, and had served the Savage Pack for over 40 years. When she spoke, wolves listened, and right now, she was looking directly at Ariana. "What matters?" Braylon asked, his voice controlled but edged with tension. Ensley clasped her hands in front of her. "A sacred item has gone missing from the temple." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Ariana's heart pounded. She had no idea what Ensley was talking about. She had been nowhere near the temple except for purification rites earlier that day, supervised the entire time. "What item?" Keith asked, frowning. "The moon's tear," Ensley said. "A relic passed down through generations. It was placed on the altar this morning for the ceremony, and now it is gone." The crowd's murmurs grew louder. Ariana felt dizzy. The moon's tear was ancient, priceless. A crystal said to hold a fragment of the moon goddess's blessing. Losing it was unthinkable, but what did that have to do with her? Ensley's gaze didn't waver. The only wolves who entered the temple today were the elders, the Alpha, and the Omega bride during her purification. Ariana's stomach dropped. No, this couldn't be happening. "You're not suggesting," Braylon started, but Ensley raised a hand. "I am suggesting nothing," Ensley said calmly. "I am stating facts. The item is missing, and we cannot proceed with a sacred ceremony while a sacred object has been stolen." "I didn't take it," Ariana said, her voice shaking. "I didn't even touch it. I didn't—" "Then you won't mind if we search your chamber," Ensley said. The words hit like a physical blow. Ariana looked at Braylon, desperate. "You know I wouldn't," but Braylon's expression had shifted. Gone was the warmth from earlier. Gone was the flicker of amusement when she sneezed. Now he stood like a king, remote, untouchable. "Search her chamber," he said quietly. Ariana's world tilted. "Braylon, if you're innocent, you have nothing to fear," he said, and his voice was so cold it burned. Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them back. She would not cry. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Two warriors stepped forward, Javier Gonzalez and Donald Webb, and gestured for Ariana to follow. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream, but she had spent her entire life being obedient, so she walked. The walk back to her chamber felt endless. Wolves stared as she passed. Some looked confused, others looked suspicious, and some looked satisfied. Ariana caught snippets of whispers. "I always thought she was too quiet. You know how Omegas are. Sneaky. She probably planned this." Her chest tightened. She had done nothing wrong. Nothing, but no one would believe her. They reached her chamber, and Javier pushed the door open. Haley and Cecilia were still inside, cleaning up from the preparations. They looked up in confusion. "What's going on?" Cecilia asked. "We're searching the room," Donald said flatly. Haley's eyes widened. "For what?" "The moon's tear is missing," Javier said, already moving toward Ariana's belongings. "We're checking everywhere." Ariana stood frozen in the doorway, watching as the warriors tore through her things. They overturned her bed, rifled through her clothes, opened every drawer. Cecilia stepped closer to Ariana. "This is ridiculous. You didn't take anything." "I know," Ariana whispered, but knowing didn't matter. After what felt like hours, Javier straightened. "Nothing here." Relief flooded through Ariana so fast she nearly collapsed. "See?" Haley said fiercely. "She's innocent." Donald frowned. "We still need to check." "You've checked everything," Cecilia snapped. "Leave her alone." Javier and Donald exchanged a glance, then nodded. "We'll report back to the Alpha," Javier said. They left. Ariana sank onto the edge of her bed, her hands shaking. Cecilia knelt in front of her. "Are you okay?" "No," Ariana said honestly. Haley sat beside her. "This is insane. You were with us the entire time. There's no way you could have taken anything." "It doesn't matter," Ariana said quietly. "They already think I did." "Braylon will fix this," Cecilia said firmly. "He's your mate. He'll defend you." Ariana wanted to believe that. She really did. But the look in Braylon's eyes when he ordered the search, that wasn't the look of a mate. That was the look of a king protecting his throne. They returned to the clearing. The pack was still gathered, restless and whispering. Ariana walked back to the altar, her head high despite the fear clawing at her insides. Javier stepped forward and spoke to Braylon in a low voice. Braylon's expression didn't change. He turned to the crowd. The item was not found in her chamber. Relief should have filled the clearing. It didn't. Instead, the whispers grew louder. Maybe she hid it somewhere else. Maybe she gave it to someone. Maybe... Enough, Braylon said, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. The pack fell silent. Ensley stepped forward again. If the item is not found, we cannot complete the ceremony. It is a sacred law. Ariana's heart sank. Then we postpone, Braylon said. No, Ensley said sharply. We do not postpone. We address the theft. There is no proof of theft, Keith interjected. There is no proof of innocence either, Ensley countered. The pack murmured agreement. Ariana felt the ground shifting beneath her. This wasn't about the moon's tear. This was about her, about whether an Omega belonged beside an Alpha. Braylon looked at her, and for a brief moment, she saw conflict in his eyes. He didn't want to believe she was guilty, but he didn't want to look weak either. And at that moment, Ariana understood. He was going to choose the pack, not her. Until the matter is resolved, Braylon said slowly. The ceremony is suspended. The words landed like stones. Suspended. Not cancelled, but not completed either. Ariana stood there, still wearing the ceremonial gown, still covered in sacred ash, still bound by vows that hadn't been finished. And she realized something terrible. She was trapped, not by the moon, but by a man who loved his crown more than her. If you're feeling that tension tightening in your chest right now, you're not alone. Stories like this are the heart of cold blood empire, where power, love, and betrayal collide. Do you think Braylon will choose love? Or his crown? All right, let's go back because this is where everything breaks. Chapter 3. The clearing did not empty. No one left. Instead, the pack pressed closer, hungry for answers, hungry for justice, hungry for something Ariana could not give them. She stood beside the altar, alone. Braylon had stepped away to confer with the elders. His back was to her, his posture rigid. Ariana wanted to reach for him through the bond. She wanted to feel the warmth that had always been there, but when she tried, she felt only cold distance. He had closed himself off from her. Elder Ensley addressed the crowd. The moon's tear must be found. Until it is returned, no ceremonies will proceed. No blessings will be given. A female voice called out from the crowd. What if she sold it? Ariana's head snapped up. I didn't. Omegas have done worse for less, another voice added. She's been too quiet all along. That's suspicious. Maybe she planned this from the start. The accusations came faster now, sharper, each one cutting deeper than the last. Ariana's hands trembled. She wanted to defend herself. She wanted to scream that she had been loyal her entire life, that she had never taken anything that didn't belong to her, that she loved Braylon, but her voice wouldn't come, because she had been taught her entire life that Omegas didn't speak unless spoken to. That silence was survival, and now that silence was damning her. Braylon turned. His eyes met hers, and Ariana saw the exact moment he made his choice. Ariana Perez, he said, his voice formal and unyielding. You stand accused of theft against the moon goddess herself. Her breath stopped. No evidence has been found, he continued. But neither has the sacred item. Until it is recovered, you will be held accountable. Accountable how? Ariana whispered. Ensley stepped forward. Sacred law is clear. When a theft occurs during a holy ceremony, the accused must be purified. Purified. The word sounded gentle. It wasn't. Ariana had heard stories of purification rituals. They were brutal, painful, designed to break the guilty and prove the innocent. Braylon, she said, her voice breaking. Please. He didn't look away, but he didn't step closer either. It is the law, he said quietly. You're my mate, Ariana said desperately. Doesn't that mean anything? For a heartbeat, she saw something flicker in his expression. Regret, doubt, pain. But then it was gone. The law applies to everyone, Braylon said. Even my mate. The crowd murmured approval. And Ariana realized with horrible clarity that this was never about the moon's tear. This was about power. About proving that an alpha could not be swayed by an omega. About showing the pack that Braylon Morris ruled with law, not emotion. She was not his mate at that moment. She was an example. Elder Keith stepped forward, looking uncomfortable. Perhaps we should investigate further before— The law is clear, Ensley interrupted. Purification must occur. Braylon nodded, and Ariana's world collapsed. 2 warriors approached her, Kobe Callahan and Wallace Fields. Both were large. Both were loyal to Braylon. Both looked at her with suspicion. "Come with us," Kobe said. Ariana's legs wouldn't move. "Please," she whispered. "I didn't do anything." "Then the purification will prove it," Wallace said flatly. They each took one of her arms. Ariana looked at Braylon one last time. He stood like a statue, his face carved from stone, and she understood. He would not save her. He would not defend her. He would not choose her, because choosing her would make him look weak, and an alpha king could never look weak. The warriors led her toward the center of the clearing. The pack parted to let them through, their faces a blur of judgment and curiosity. Ariana's heart pounded so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. But it was, and there was no escape. They brought her to the ceremonial post at the center of the clearing. It was ancient, carved from dark wood and blessed by generations of elders. Ariana had seen it used once before, years ago, when a warrior was accused of betraying the pack. She remembered the screams. Kobe and Wallace positioned her in front of the post. "Hands forward," Kobe said. Ariana's entire body shook. "Please," she whispered. "Please don't do this." Wallace's expression softened slightly. "If you're innocent, it'll be over quickly." That was supposed to be comforting. It wasn't. They bound her wrists to the post with ceremonial rope. The rough fibers bit into her skin. Ariana tried to breathe, but the gown was still too tight, and panic was stealing her air. Elder Ensley stepped forward, holding a ceremonial whip. It was made of braided leather, blessed with sacred oils, designed not to kill but to purify through pain. Ariana's vision blurred with tears. 10 lashes, Ensley declared, for theft against the moon. 10. Ariana had once seen a warrior take 5 and collapse. 10 would break her. She looked at Braylon one more time. He stood at the edge of the clearing, his jaw tight, his hands clenched into fists, but he did not move. He did not stop this, and Ariana felt something inside her crack. Not her body, her belief, her hope, her love. "Begin," Ensley said. And the first lash fell. Chapter 4. Pain exploded across Ariana's back. She gasped, her fingers clawing at the post, her entire body jerking forward. The ceremonial gown tore. The silver thread that had looked so beautiful in the mirror now felt like shackles. The second lash fell before she could catch her breath. This one burned. Ariana bit down on her lips so hard she tasted blood. She would not scream. She would not give them that. The third lash struck lower, across her ribs, and this time she couldn't hold it in. A strangled cry tore from her throat. The pack watched in silence. No one protested. No one intervened. They just watched. Ariana's mind fractured. She remembered the first time she saw Braylon. He had been sparring in the training yard, shirtless and glistening with sweat, moving with a grace that didn't seem possible for someone so powerful. She had been carrying water for the warriors, invisible as always, but he had looked at her, really looked, and he smiled. The fourth lash fell. Ariana sobbed. She remembered the night he pulled her into the shadows after a pack gathering. His hands had been so gentle, cradling her face like she was something precious. "I don't care what they say about Omegas," he had murmured. "You're mine, and I'm yours." She had believed him. The fifth lash struck. Ariana's knees buckled, but the ropes held her upright. She remembered the way he kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise, the way his hands roamed her waist, her hips, pulling her closer until there was no space between them, the way he whispered her name like a prayer. The sixth lash fell. Ariana couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. Couldn't feel anything except pain and betrayal. She looked up, tears streaming down her face, and found Braylon in the crowd. He was watching. His jaw was clenched so tight she could see the muscle ticking. His hands were fists at his sides, but he did nothing. The seventh lash struck. Ariana screamed. She couldn't help it. The sound tore from her throat, raw and broken. And for the first time, Braylon flinched. She saw it. A flicker of pain in his eyes, a crack in his armor, but it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. The eighth lash fell. Ariana's vision went dark at the edges. She was dimly aware of someone in the crowd crying. Maybe her aunt, maybe Cecilia. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered except surviving the next breath. The ninth lash struck. Ariana's body went limp. She hung from the ropes, barely conscious, her back a mess of torn skin and blood. The ceremonial gown was ruined. The sacred ash had mixed with her tears and sweat. Everything that was supposed to be beautiful had turned into a nightmare. Elder Ensley raised the whip one final time. 10, she said, and the last lash fell. Ariana felt it distantly, like it was happening to someone else. Her body had gone numb. Her mind had retreated somewhere deep and dark and safe. When they cut the ropes, she collapsed. Her legs wouldn't hold her. She fell hard, her cheek hitting the dirt, her arms splayed uselessly beside her. She couldn't move. She couldn't stand anymore. Couldn't even cry. Somewhere above her, Elder Ensley spoke. The purification is complete. If she is innocent, the moon will show us. Ariana wanted to laugh. The moon had already shown them. She had been chosen as Braylon's mate, but that didn't matter. Nothing mattered except power and law and control. Footsteps approached. Braylon. She could feel him through the bond. Even now, even broken, he knelt beside her. She didn't look at him. Couldn't. Ariana, he said quietly. His voice was rough, strained, like he was the one in pain. Ariana wanted to spit at him, wanted to curse him, wanted to tell him that he had destroyed the only good thing in her miserable life, but she couldn't speak. Her throat was raw from screaming. Braylon reached out, his hand hovering above her shoulder, but he didn't touch her. Take her to the healer, he ordered. Strong hands lifted her. Ariana's head lolled back, and the last thing she saw before darkness claimed her was the full moon above, cold, distant, silent. Pause for just a second. If this were you lying in that clearing, if the one person you trusted chose silence, what would you do? Drop a comment. I'm reading every single one, and if you want more stories where omegas rise, alphas fall, and fate gets rewritten, make sure you're subscribed to Cold Blood Empire. Now, brace yourself. Chapter 5. Ariana woke to pain. Not the sharp, immediate agony of the whip, but a deep, throbbing ache that radiated from her back through her entire body. She was lying on her stomach in an unfamiliar room, the healer's chamber. She could smell the herbs, lavender and sage, and something bitter she couldn't name. Lorelei Garrett, the pack's head healer, sat beside her, grinding something in a mortar. You're awake, Lorelei said quietly. Ariana tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. Lorelei held a cup of water to her lips. Slowly, Ariana drank. The water hurt going down, but it helped. How long? Ariana rasped. 2 hours, Lorelei said. You passed out after the 10th lash. 10th lash. The memory came crashing back. The clearing. The crowd. Braylon's cold expression as he condemned her. Ariana closed her eyes against the tears. I treated your wounds, Lorelei continued. They'll be scared, but they'll heal. Scars. Ariana would carry the marks of this night for the rest of her life. Physical proof of the moment her mate chose his crown over her heart. The moon's tear, Ariana whispered. Did they find it? Lorelei hesitated. No, of course not, because Ariana hadn't taken it. They still think I'm guilty, Ariana said. It wasn't a question. Lorelei didn't answer. She didn't need to. The door opened, and Braylon stepped inside. Ariana's entire body tensed. Lorelei stood. She needs rest. I know, Braylon said. I just need a moment. Lorelei glanced at Ariana, and Ariana gave the smallest nod. Lorelei left, closing the door behind her. Braylon stood at the foot of the bed, his hands clasped behind his back, his expression carefully blank. Ariana stared at him. This man had held her, kissed her, promised her forever, and then he watched her be torn apart. I'm sorry, Braylon said quietly. Ariana laughed. It was a broken, bitter sound. You're sorry? She repeated. I had no choice, Braylon said. The law. The law? Ariana's voice cracked. I'm your mate. Doesn't that mean anything? It means everything, Braylon said, and for the first time, she heard emotion in his voice. But I'm also an alpha. I can't show favoritism. I can't. You can't love me, Ariana finished. Braylon flinched. That's what this is really about, isn't it? Ariana said. You're ashamed. Ashamed that your mate is an omega. Ashamed that choosing me makes you look weak. That's not true, Braylon said. Then why didn't you defend me? Ariana demanded. Why didn't you stop them? Because I don't know if you're innocent, Braylon said. The words hung in the air like poison. Ariana stared at him, and something inside her broke completely. "Get out," she whispered. "Ariana, get out." Braylon's jaw tightened. "We'll talk when you've calmed down." "We'll never talk again," Ariana said flatly. Braylon looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. He turned and left, and Ariana was alone. She didn't cry. She couldn't. All her tears had been spent in the clearing. Instead, she lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling the bond between her and Braylon pulse with pain. He was hurting too. She could feel it, but she didn't care. Let him hurt. Let him regret it. Let him live with the knowledge that he destroyed the one person who loved him unconditionally. Hours passed. The moon rose higher, and something began to stir inside Ariana. Not grief, not pain, something else, something primal. Heat bloomed in her chest, spreading through her limbs like wildfire. Her breath quickened, her heart raced, and for the first time in her life, Ariana heard a voice that wasn't her own. "Get up." She froze. The voice was low, feral, furious. "Get up," it said again. Ariana's eyes widened. Her wolf. The wolf she had never heard. The wolf everyone said was broken. "They hurt us," the voice growled. "They broke us, but we are not finished." Ariana's hands trembled. "Who are you?" she whispered. "I am you," the wolf said, "and you are me, and we will not let them win." The heat intensified, burning through Ariana's veins. Her wounds throbbed, but the pain felt distant now. Secondary. "Stand," the wolf commanded. Ariana pushed herself up slowly, her body screaming in protest, but she stood, and the moment her feet touched the ground, power surged through her. Raw, uncontrollable, undeniable. Her wolf was awake, and she was furious. Chapter 6. The air in the healer's chamber shifted. Lorelei, who had been mixing herbs in the corner, looked up sharply. "Ariana?" she said carefully. "What's happening?" Ariana didn't answer. She couldn't. Her wolf was rising, pressing against her skin, demanding release. The torches on the walls flickered. The wind outside picked up, rattling the shutters. Lorelei took a step back. "You need to calm down." "I can't," Ariana gasped. The heat was overwhelming now, burning through her control. Her vision sharpened. Her senses exploded. She could smell everything, the herbs, the blood still on her back, the fear radiating from Lorelei. She could hear everything, the rustling leaves outside, the distant murmur of the pack, the rapid beating of Lorelei's heart. She could feel everything, the bond with Braylon pulsing with alarm, the moon's power thrumming through her veins, the ancient magic waking inside her. "Let me out," her wolf snarled. "Not here," Ariana whispered. "Now." Power erupted from her. The shutters blew open. The torches flared so bright Lorelei shielded her eyes, and Ariana's body began to shift. She had never shifted before. She didn't know how, but her wolf did. Bones cracked. Muscles stretched. Skin rippled. Ariana screamed, but the sound morphed into a howl, and then she was no longer human. She stood on 4 legs, her fur silver and white, her eyes glowing with power. Lorelei stumbled backward, her face pale. "Moon goddess," she breathed. Ariana's wolf snarled. She was magnificent, larger than any Omega had a right to be, stronger than anyone expected, and furious. The door burst open. Braylon stood there, his eyes wide. Ariana, her wolf lunged. Not to attack, but to flee. She crashed through the window, glass shattering around her, and landed in the clearing beyond. Wolves scattered, crying out in shock. Ariana's wolf didn't stop. She ran, through the territory, past the borders, into the wild darkness beyond. And behind her, she heard Braylon's voice calling her name, but she didn't look back. She ran until her legs gave out, until the adrenaline faded, until her body forced her to shift back. When she became human again, she collapsed in a clearing she didn't recognize, naked and shaking and covered in blood from her reopened wounds. But she didn't care, because for the first time in her life, Ariana felt powerful. Her wolf curled around her consciousness like a protective shield. "We are free," her wolf said. "We're alone," Ariana whispered. "We are alive," her wolf corrected. "And they will regret what they did to us." Ariana closed her eyes. She could still feel the bond with Braylon. He was searching for her, panicking. Good. Let him panic. Let him worry. Let him feel a fraction of the pain he caused. Ariana pulled her knees to her chest and let the tears come. Not tears of weakness, but tears of rage. And beneath the rage, a promise. She would never be broken again. Chapter 7. Ariana woke to sunlight filtering through the trees. Her entire body ached. The wounds on her back had scabbed over during the night, but they still burned. She sat up slowly, wincing. She was still naked, still alone, still free. Her wolf stirred. "We should move." "Where?" Ariana asked aloud. "Anywhere but here." But Ariana didn't move, because despite everything, despite the pain and betrayal, she could still feel Braylon through the bond, and he was close, too close. Footsteps crunched through the underbrush. Ariana tensed, ready to shift again if needed. But it wasn't Braylon who emerged from the trees. It was Cecilia. She carried a bundle of clothes and looked both relieved and terrified. "Thank the moon," Cecilia breathed. "I've been searching all night." Ariana didn't move. "How did you find me?" "I followed your scent," Cecilia said. "And I'm not the only one. Braylon has half the pack out looking for you." "I don't want to see him," Ariana said flatly. "I know," Cecilia said gently. She set the clothes down. "But you need to come back." "Why?" Ariana demanded. "So they can punish me again? So they can call me a thief and a liar?" "No," Cecilia said. "Because they found the moon's tear." Ariana froze. "What?" Cecilia nodded. "This morning. It was hidden in Elder Ensley's private chamber." Ariana's blood went cold. "Ensley?" she whispered. "She confessed," Cecilia said. "She was trying to frame you. She never wanted an Omega as Luna. She thought if she could discredit you, Braylon would choose someone else." Rage flooded through Ariana so fast she thought she might shift again. "She did this," Ariana said, her voice shaking. "She's the reason I was whipped. She's the reason." Her voice broke. Cecilia knelt beside her. "I know. And she's been exiled. Braylon made sure of it. Braylon." The name tasted like ash. "He didn't believe me," Ariana said. "He let them hurt me. He made a mistake," Cecilia said softly. "A mistake?" Ariana repeated incredulously. "He chose the pack over me. He watched me be torn apart and did nothing." "I know," Cecilia said. "And he knows. He's been sick with guilt since your wolf emerged." "He didn't know, Ariana." "None of us did." "Didn't know what?" Ariana asked. Cecilia hesitated. "That you're not just any Omega. Your wolf, when she emerged, the elders felt it. The entire pack felt it." Ariana frowned. "What are you talking about?" "You're powerful," Cecilia said. "More powerful than anyone realized. Your wolf. She's not normal." Ariana's wolf hummed with satisfaction. "They fear us now," she said. "I don't care," Ariana said aloud. But she did. She cared that they finally saw her. Finally understood that she wasn't weak. It wasn't broken. It wasn't less. "Braylon wants to complete the ceremony," Cecilia said carefully. Ariana laughed bitterly. "Of course he does. Now that I'm useful." "That's not fair," Cecilia said. "Isn't it?" Ariana demanded. "He didn't want me when I was just an Omega. But now that I have power, suddenly I'm worth keeping?" Cecilia didn't answer, because they both knew it was true. Ariana stood, ignoring the pain in her back, and reached for the clothes. She dressed slowly, her movements stiff. "I'm not going back to be his Luna," she said quietly. Cecilia's eyes widened. "What?" "I'm not going back," Ariana repeated. "Not for him. Not for the pack. Not for anyone. Ariana, you're his mate." "He broke that bond when he chose the pack," Ariana said. "Now I'm choosing myself." Cecilia looked devastated. "Where will you go?" Ariana didn't know. She hadn't thought that far. But her wolf whispered, "We'll find our way." And for the first time, Ariana believed it. 3 days later, Ariana had found shelter in an abandoned den, miles from the savage territory. It wasn't much, just a hollow beneath an ancient oak tree, but it was hers. She had hunted rabbit the night before, her wolf teaching her how to track silently, how to strike quickly. She had bathed in a nearby stream, washing away the last of the dried blood. Her wounds were healing. Slowly, but they were healing. And for the first time in her life, Ariana felt like she could breathe. The bond with Braylon still pulsed in the back of her mind. He was searching, always searching, but Ariana had learned to block him out, to silence the pull, to ignore the ache, She was gathering firewood when she felt him. Not through the bond, but through the shift in the air, the way the forest went quiet, the way her wolf tensed. "He's here," her wolf said. Ariana dropped the wood and turned. Braylon stood at the edge of the clearing, alone. He looked terrible. His hair was disheveled, his eyes red-rimmed, his jaw covered in stubble. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Good. Ariana," he said, his voice rough. She said nothing, just stared at him. Braylon took a step closer. "Please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain," Ariana said flatly. "I was wrong," Braylon said. "I should have believed you. I should have defended you. I should have stopped them," Ariana finished. "Choose me over your precious law?" Braylon flinched. "Yes, but you didn't," Ariana said. "You watched them whip me. You stood there and did nothing while they tore me apart." "I know," Braylon said, and his voice cracked. "And I will regret that for the rest of my life." "Good," Ariana said coldly. Braylon looked like she had struck him. "I love you," he said desperately. "I know I failed you. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I love you, Ariana, and I want to make this right." "You can't," Ariana said. "Some things can't be fixed." "Please," Braylon said, and he actually dropped to his knees. "Please, Ariana, come back. Be my Luna. Let me spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of you." Ariana's wolf growled. "Do not give in." Ariana looked down at him. This powerful alpha, on his knees in the dirt, begging. Part of her wanted to feel satisfaction, but mostly, she just felt tired. "Do you know why I loved you?" Ariana asked quietly. Braylon looked up at her, hope flickering in his eyes. "Because you saw me," Ariana continued. "When everyone else looked through me, you saw me. You made me believe I mattered." "You do matter," Braylon said. "Not enough," Ariana said. "Not enough for you to defend me when it counted." "I was wrong," Braylon said again. "Yes," Ariana agreed. "You were. And because of that, you lost me." "No," Braylon said, standing. "No, I refuse to accept that. We're mates, Ariana. The moon chose us." "The moon chose wrong," Ariana said. The words hung between them like a death sentence. Braylon stared at her, his expression shattered. "You don't mean that," he whispered. "I do," Ariana said. "The moon chose a mate for you, but you chose the pack, and I'm choosing myself." "Ariana, leave," Ariana said, "and don't come back." Braylon looked like he wanted to argue, to fight, to refuse, but he must have seen something in her eyes, something hard and final, because he didn't. He just nodded, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "If you change your mind." "I won't," Ariana said. Braylon stood there for another moment, as if hoping she would soften. She didn't. Finally, he turned and walked back into the forest. Ariana watched him go, her chest tight. Her wolf nuzzled her consciousness. "We did the right thing." "I know," Ariana whispered, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. That night, Ariana couldn't sleep. She lay in her makeshift den, staring at the stars through the gaps in the branches. Her wolf was restless too. "You're thinking about him," her wolf said. "I'm thinking about what he destroyed," Ariana corrected. "Same thing," Ariana sighed. She had meant what she said. She wouldn't go back. She wouldn't forgive him. But that didn't stop the memories from flooding her mind. She remembered the first time Braylon kissed her. It had been after a pack celebration, late at night when most wolves had already retreated to their homes. Ariana had been cleaning up, as usual, when Braylon found her. "You don't have to do that," he had said. "I don't mind," she replied. "I mind," Braylon had said, taking the cloth from her hands. "You shouldn't have to serve everyone all the time." Ariana had looked up at him, confused. "It's what Omegas do." "You're not just an Omega," Braylon had said. "Not to me." And then he kissed her, slow and gentle and devastating. His hands had framed her face, his thumbs brushing her cheekbones. When he pulled back, Ariana had been breathless. "I've wanted to do that for weeks," Braylon had murmured. "Why didn't you?" Ariana had asked. "Because I wanted to make sure you wanted it too," Braylon had said. Ariana had answered by pulling him back down. That kiss had turned into more, his hands sliding down her sides, her fingers tangled in his hair, their bodies pressed together until there was no space between them. Braylon had pulled her into a secluded alcove behind the ceremonial hall, his mouth never leaving hers. "Tell me to stop," he had breathed against her lips. "Tell me to stop and I will." But Ariana hadn't wanted him to stop. She had wanted more. She needed more. "Don't stop," she had whispered, and he hadn't. His hands had explored every curve, every dip, learning her body like it was sacred territory. He had kissed down her neck, his teeth grazing her pulse point, and Ariana had gasped. "You're so beautiful," Braylon had murmured. "So perfect." No one had ever called her beautiful before. No one had ever looked at her like she was something precious. Braylon had lifted her, her legs wrapping around his waist, and pressed her against the wall. Even through their clothes, Ariana could feel him hard and wanting, his body pressed against hers with an urgency that made her breath catch. She could feel every ridge of muscle, every tremor of restraint as he held himself back. "I want you," Braylon had groaned against her throat. "I want you so much it hurts." Ariana's hands had roamed his broad shoulders, feeling the power coiled beneath his skin. Her touch seemed to drive him wild. He captured her wrists gently, pinning them above her head with one large hand while the other traced patterns along her side. "Then have me," Ariana had breathed, arching into him. Braylon had made a sound deep in his chest, half growl, half groan that sent heat flooding through her entire body. His lips had found the sensitive spot where her neck met her shoulder, and when his teeth grazed her skin, she'd trembled. "Not like this," he had said, his voice strained. His breathing was ragged, his forehead pressed against hers, not hidden in the shadows like something to be ashamed of. His hand had slid to her waist, his thumb drawing slow circles that made her squirm. Even that simple touch felt overwhelming, like lightning dancing across her skin. "When I claim you," Braylon had continued, his voice low and rough with promise, "it'll be in my bed, where I can take my time, where I can worship every inch of you properly." The words alone had made Ariana's knees weak. "Where I can hear every sound you make," he'd murmured against her ear, without worrying who might overhear. He had kissed her again then, deeper, slower, his body still pressed against hers. The kiss was full of restrained passion, of promises yet to be fulfilled. When he finally pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. "After the mating ceremony," Braylon had said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "After you're officially mine, then I'll show you exactly how much I want you." His eyes had been dark with desire, his control clearly hanging by a thread. "Promise?" Ariana had asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Promise," Braylon had said, sealing it with another kiss that left her dizzy and aching. He had set her down gently, steadying her when her legs wobbled. They stood there for a moment, bodies still close, both reluctant to step away. "I should go," Braylon had said, though he hadn't moved. "You should," Ariana had agreed, though she hadn't wanted him to. Finally, with visible effort, Braylon had stepped back. But before he left, he had traced his fingers along her jaw one more time. "Soon," he had promised. "Very soon you'll be mine completely," and Ariana had believed him. She had believed that the heat between them, that sacred longing, would be honored, that the promises whispered in the dark would be kept. Ariana closed her eyes against the memory now. That promise had been broken the moment he chose the pack, the moment he stood by and watched her suffer. Her wolf growled softly. "He doesn't deserve those memories." "I know," Ariana whispered, but she couldn't help remembering the way he had made her feel safe, desired, cherished. All lies, or maybe not lies, just promises too fragile to survive the weight of a crown. The next morning, Ariana was hunting when she caught an unfamiliar scent. Her wolf went on alert immediately. "Someone's here," her wolf said. Ariana shifted, her silver fur rippling in the early morning light. She followed the scent deeper into the forest, her movements silent and predatory. She found him in a clearing, a wolf she didn't recognize. He was large, nearly as large as Braylon, with dark gray fur and amber eyes. When he saw her, he shifted. The transformation was seamless, revealing a man in his early 30s with sharp features and an assessing gaze. "You're the Omega everyone's talking about," he said. "Not the same Javier you met before. I'm Braylon's cousin." Ariana shifted as well, unconcerned about her nudity. Wolves didn't have the same modesty as humans. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Wallace Morris," he said. "Braylon's cousin." Ariana tensed. "If he sent you..." "He didn't," Javier said, raising his hands. "I came on my own." Why? Because I wanted to see for myself, Javier said. The Omega who brought the Alpha King to his knees. Ariana's wolf snarled. Send him away. But Ariana was curious. What do you want? She asked. Javier studied her for a long moment. I want to offer you an alliance, he said finally. Ariana frowned. What kind of alliance? The kind that gives you leverage, Javier said. Braylon is weak right now. The pack questions his judgment. The elders are pressuring him to take another mate. Good, Ariana said coldly. Is it? Javier challenged. Because the mate they're pushing is Valentina Santana's daughter, and she's worse than Ensley ever was. Ariana's stomach twisted. Why do you care? She asked. Because Braylon might be a fool, but he's still the best alpha the Savage Pack has had in generations, Javier said. And if he takes another mate just to appease the elders, he'll never be the same. He'll be a puppet. That's his problem, Ariana said. It's the pack's problem, Javier corrected. And whether you like it or not, you're connected to this pack through the mate bond. I'm going to sever it, Ariana said. Javier's eyebrows rose. You haven't yet? Soon, Ariana said. Javier nodded slowly. Then I won't waste your time. But know this, if you ever change your mind, if you ever want revenge, if you ever want to watch Braylon suffer the way he made you suffer, I can help you with that. Ariana's wolf perked up. Revenge. I don't need revenge, Ariana said. Everyone needs revenge, Javier said with a slight smile. Some just admit it sooner than others. He shifted back into his wolf form and disappeared into the trees. Ariana stood there, alone again, her mind racing. Revenge. The word tasted bitter and sweet all at once. She didn't want revenge, did she? Her wolf whispered, Maybe we do. 2 weeks later, Ariana had settled into a routine. Hunt in the morning, bathe in the stream, gather firewood, sleep beneath the stars. It was simple, peaceful, lonely. She hadn't seen Braylon again. He had respected her wishes, but she could still feel him through the bond. Distant and aching. She knew she should sever it, end it completely. But every time she tried, something stopped her. Maybe it was the part of her that still remembered the good times, the laughter, the promises, the way he made her feel like she mattered. Or maybe it was the part of her that wanted him to suffer a little longer. One evening, as Ariana sat by her fire, she heard footsteps. Her wolf didn't react, which meant it was someone familiar. Cecilia emerged from the trees, carrying a basket. I brought supplies, she said. Ariana smiled despite herself. You didn't have to. I wanted to, Cecilia said, sitting down. Besides, someone has to make sure you're eating properly. Ariana took the basket. Inside was bread, dried meat, fresh fruit, and a clean dress. Thank you, Ariana said softly. Cecilia watched her carefully. How are you really? Better, Ariana said. Stronger. And Braylon? Ariana's expression hardened. What about him? He's falling apart, Cecilia said quietly. He barely eats. I barely sleep. All he does is search for you and stare at the bond like it's going to tell him how to fix this. He can't fix this, Ariana said. I know, Cecilia said. And I think he knows that too. But he's trying anyway. Ariana said nothing. Cecilia sighed. The pack is a mess. Without Luna, everything's falling apart. Disputes aren't being mediated. The Omegas have no one to advocate for them, and the elders are circling like vultures. Then Braylon should choose someone else, Ariana said. He won't, Cecilia said. He says you're his mate, and that's final. Ariana's chest tightened. That's his choice, she said, not mine. Cecilia studied her for a long moment. Do you still love him? She asked gently. Ariana looked away. Did she? She loved the man he used to be, the man who saw her, who made her feel safe, who promised to protect her. But that man had disappeared the moment he chose his crown over her heart. It doesn't matter, Ariana said finally. It does, Cecilia insisted. No, Ariana said firmly. Because love isn't enough. Not when the person you love doesn't choose you when it counts. Cecilia looked sad. I wish there was something I could say to make this better. There isn't, Ariana said. But I appreciate you trying. Cecilia hugged her tightly. If you ever need anything, I know, Ariana said, hugging her back. After Cecilia left, Ariana sat alone by the fire. Her wolf was quiet, contemplative. What if we gave him one more chance? Her wolf suggested. No, Ariana said aloud. But what if… No, Ariana repeated. He had his chance, and he chose wrong. Her wolf didn't argue, but Ariana could feel the doubt creeping in. The loneliness, the part of her that missed being held, being loved, being seen. She shook her head, trying to clear it. She had made her choice, and she would live with it. That night, Ariana dreamed she was back in the clearing, back at the ceremonial post. But this time, Braylon wasn't watching from the crowd. He was the one holding the whip. I have to do this, he said, his eyes filled with tears. I have to prove I'm a strong alpha. Then you were never mine, Dream Ariana said, and she woke up with a gasp. Her heart was pounding. Her wolf was agitated. It was just a dream, her wolf said, but it felt real. Too real. Ariana got up and walked to the stream. The water was cold, shocking her system. She splashed it on her face, trying to wash away the dream, but the feeling lingered. The certainty that she had made the right choice, and the fear that she would regret it forever. Her wolf whispered, Maybe we're not meant to be alone. Maybe not, Ariana admitted. But we're not meant to be with someone who breaks us either. What if he's changed? People don't change, Ariana said. Not really. You did, her wolf pointed out. Ariana paused. She had changed. She was no longer the quiet, obedient Omega who believed silence was survival. She was strong, fierce, free. Maybe Braylon could change too. Maybe. But that was a risk Ariana wasn't willing to take. Not again. The next day, everything changed. Ariana was in her wolf form, tracking a deer, when she heard the howl. It was distant but urgent. A pack alert. Her wolf's ears perked up. Something's wrong. Ariana wanted to ignore it. Whatever was happening in the savage territory wasn't her problem anymore. But then she heard a second howl. And a third, all panicked, all calling for help. Her wolf turned toward the territory before Ariana could stop her. We have to see, her wolf said. No, Ariana argued. It's not our pack anymore. They need help. They made their choice, Ariana said. So did we. And we choose to help. Before Ariana could argue further, her wolf was running, racing back toward the territory she had left behind, toward the pack that had betrayed her, toward the alpha who had broken her heart, and Ariana had no idea if she was running toward salvation or destruction. Chapter 8. Ariana's wolf crashed through the tree line into the savage territory. Immediately, she smelled blood, smoke, fear. The pack was under attack. Wolves fought in the clearing not against each other, but against rogues. At least 20 of them. Wild-eyed and vicious, Ariana's wolf didn't hesitate. She launched into the fray, taking down a rogue who had cornered a young pup. Her jaws closed around the rogue's throat, and he went limp. The pup scrambled away, and Ariana moved to her next target. She fought like she had never fought before. Fierce, relentless, unstoppable. Her wolf was larger than she should be, stronger than anyone expected, and the rogues noticed. Several turned toward her, snarling. Ariana braced herself. But before they could attack, a massive brown wolf appeared beside her. Braylon. Their eyes met, and for a fraction of a second, the world stopped. Then they were fighting together, moving in sync like they had trained for this their entire lives. Braylon took the left flank. Ariana took the right. Together, they were devastating. When the last rogue fell, the clearing went silent. The pack stared at Ariana's wolf in shock. She had saved them. The Omega they had judged. The Omega they had whipped. The Omega they had rejected. She had come back, and she had saved them. Braylon shifted, his chest heaving. Ariana, he said. But Ariana didn't shift. She turned and ran back into the forest. She wasn't ready. Not yet. Later that night, Ariana sat by her fire, her wolf finally calm. She had bathed in the stream, washing away the blood. Her wounds from the fight were minor. Bruises, scratches, nothing serious, but her heart felt heavy. Seeing Braylon again, fighting beside him, it had reminded her of what they could have been, should have been. Her wolf sighed. We saved them. We did, Ariana agreed. And they saw us, her wolf said. They saw what we really are. Does it matter? Ariana asked. Maybe, her wolf said. Maybe not. But we know who we are now, and that's enough. Ariana smiled slightly. Her wolf was right. She didn't need the pack's approval. She didn't need Braylon's love. She had herself. And that was enough. Footsteps approached. Ariana didn't tense. She knew who it was. Braylon appeared at the edge of the clearing, alone. He looked different, more humble, less kingly. "Thank you," he said quietly. Ariana said nothing. "You saved us," Braylon continued. "After everything we did to you, you came back and saved us." "I didn't do it for you," Ariana said. "I did it because it was right." Braylon nodded. "I know." He stepped closer, his movements slow and careful. "I've spent every day since you left trying to figure out how to fix what I broke," Braylon said. "And I finally realized something." "What?" Ariana asked. "I can't," Braylon said simply. "I can't fix it. I can't undo what I did. I can't take back the pain I caused." Ariana's throat tightened. "But I can promise you this," Braylon continued. "If you give me another chance, just one more chance, I will spend every day proving that I'm worthy of you. Not as an alpha, not as a king, but as your mate." Ariana looked at him, really looked, and she saw the truth in his eyes, the regret, the pain, the love, but she also saw the risk, the danger of trusting someone who had already broken her once. "I need time," Ariana said finally. Braylon's face fell slightly, but he nodded. "I'll wait, however long it takes." "And if I never come back?" Ariana asked. "Then I'll live with that," Braylon said. "Because you deserve to choose your own path, even if that path doesn't include me." Ariana's wolf whispered, "He's changed. Maybe, or maybe he was just saying what she wanted to hear." Either way, Ariana wasn't ready to decide. Not yet. "Go," she said softly. Braylon hesitated, then nodded. "I love you, Ariana," he said. "I always will." And then he left. Ariana sat alone, staring into the fire. Her wolf curled around her consciousness. "What do we do now?" her wolf asked. "We keep living," Ariana said. "And eventually, we'll know what's right." Her wolf hummed in agreement. And for now, that was enough. Chapter 9. 3 months later, Ariana stood in a clearing she now called home. She had built a small shelter. She learned to live off the land. She found peace in solitude. Her wolf was content, but not settled. "We are not finished," her wolf said sometimes. "Finished with what?" Ariana would ask. "With them. With him. With proving what we are." Ariana didn't argue, because her wolf was right. She had left the savage territory, but she hadn't forgotten. She hadn't forgiven me. And one day she would return, not as the broken Omega they whipped, but as the storm they created. News reached her sometimes, carried by wandering wolves. The savage pack was struggling. Braylon had refused to take another mate. The elders were pressuring him. The pack was restless. They needed a Luna, but Braylon would not choose. Could not choose, because the bond was severed. But the memory remained. Ariana smiled when she heard that. Let him suffer. Let him remember. Let him live with the consequences of choosing power over love. One evening, as Ariana sat by her fire, Landry Bird visited again. "You've become a legend," he said, settling across from her. "I've become free," Ariana corrected. "Same thing," Landry said with a grin. He handed her a piece of parchment. Ariana unfolded it. It was an invitation to a gathering of alphas. Braylon would be there. "Why are you giving me this?" Ariana asked. "Because I think you should go," Landry said. "Not for him, but for you. To show them all what they lost." Ariana stared at the parchment. Her wolf stirred. "Yes," she said. "Let us remind them." Ariana folded the parchment carefully. "I'll think about it," she said. Landry smiled. "That's all I ask." He left, and Ariana sat alone with her thoughts. She could go. She could walk into that gathering with her head high. She could let Braylon see what he destroyed, what he lost, what he would never have again. Or she could stay here, safe, alone, free. Her wolf nuzzled against her consciousness. "We are not meant to hide," she said gently. "We are meant to rise." Ariana closed her eyes and made her choice. The night before the gathering, Ariana stood beneath the full moon. She thought about the girl she used to be, the Omega who believed silence was survival, who believed endurance would be rewarded, who believed love was enough. That girl was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew her worth, who answered to no one, who bowed to nothing except the moon itself. Ariana's wolf emerged, silver and magnificent beneath the moonlight. Together, they howled. And somewhere, far away, Braylon Morris woke up with a start. Because he felt it, the echo of what he lost, the storm he created, the mate he destroyed. Ariana shifted back, her eyes glowing in the darkness. They crowned the wrong alpha that night, she whispered to the moon. And the moon, silent and ancient and knowing, seemed to agree. Because Ariana Perez was no longer an Omega. She was a reckoning, and when she returned, the savage pack would finally understand what it meant to break the wrong wolf. If Ariana's journey shook you, if you felt her pain, her rise, her power, then this is your home. Subscribe to Cold Blood Empire, like the video, and share it with someone who loves intense werewolf romance and redemption arcs. More stories are coming, bigger, darker, stronger. And trust me, the Empire is just getting started.